It's kind of one of those things that just continues to shock me because there's so much awareness being created about it, and yet it doesn't seem to be changing. Like, the festivals just aren't listening, especially the major ones who I feel like could have real influence in terms of making change, like Reading and Leeds, for example. I think they just think, like, they won't sell tickets or something if they put women on the lineup, which is just absolutely outrageous, because they're just kind of perpetuating this consistency of, allowing the music industry to stay this like stagnant way that it always has done. And it just doesn't make any sense because there's so many amazing bands and talent coming up. And especially, and I think a lot of them, like especially Reading and Leeds and stuff, argue that, particularly within their genres of like indie and alternative and rock, they struggle to find women in those spaces. But what they're doing is continuing to force that to happen, because by women not fans that are going to those festivals, especially like Reading is like full of young people. Like, everyone goes and they finish their GCSEs. It's like a rite of passage to go there as soon as you finish your exams. And if young girls are not seeing themselves represented on stage, like, why would they want to go home and start a band? Like, when people are young and impressionable, they want and need to see role models up there. And by not putting, women on stage and there's so many bands as well that could headline, like Haim could headline, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many huge bands, and they're just not, I just don't think they're very willing to accept that things are starting to change, or like, perhaps they're just putting, any financial priorities over risk-taking. But I don't think it is risk-taking anymore. I think fans and the industry and the musicians want the industry to change, and festivals just seem to be like putting a brick wall up to that. Sorry, some festivals seem to be putting a brick wall up to that. I think by not including women now, it's not a business decision. I think it is like a way of excluding people. This isn't just about a representation thing, although that is huge. This is about like stopping and blocking women from actually continuing to survive within the industry. Like, for example, the thing that's made me even more angry about the festival lineups this year, as opposed to last year, is that this year is so much more significant because so many musicians and creatives have suffered as a result of the coronavirus and have struggled to survive as part of it, which is hugely acknowledged. And yet, when you have the festival lineups come out, the fact that they've not booked women to play means that men who are booked are going to be able to recover from the results of the pandemic because they've been booked and are able to, recover financially. Whereas women are left out of that and therefore are not going to be able to recover. So that kind of ripple effect that not booking women after the pandemic is having means that they probably won't be able to continue full-time in music. They probably won't do as many gigs. They probably won't continue, to grow and be nurtured as they would have done. So just this 1 year of, in my opinion, poor decision-making for the industry is going to actually have huge effects in the long term for equality in the music industry. And male allies, unfortunately, are actually fundamental for change, because men are in the room when comments are being made, conversations are being had that women aren't party to. So for men to call those out is the way to create real change. I'm not expecting, tiny bands who are just trying to break through to say they're not going to play any festivals without gender diverse lineups. But, massive bands, there's so many bands, and imagine if 10 bands who are huge and who have, there's some bands like, I know Kasabian have split up now, but like Kasabian, Arctic Monkeys, like all of those bands, they were just constant headliners, like constantly throughout years and years and years. Imagine if those bands said, we're not playing any more festivals, the festivals that we're going to play have to be 50-50 gender split, otherwise we're not doing it. Festivals would have to change. They would just have to change. like not having yourself represented in those spaces is quite intimidating. And I think a lot of people react to that when they go, oh, well, if you're intimidated, then you shouldn't, then it's not for you or whatever. But I don't think that's true. I don't think women should have to work twice as hard to prove themselves in a space, or like have to shout twice as loud to be heard than their like male counterparts. Like, why? This whole idea of like you have to kind of bolsh your way to the front if you're a woman is so outdated now. Like, you should be able to be shy and still like smash your job because you're good at it, not because you've had to like scream louder to be heard. And I think just having the presence of other women, other people that you can relate to, other people that you see yourself represented in those spaces is encouraging, and also it's just more relatable. Like, this isn't like finger pointing at men. No, this isn't like men are shit in any way, shape or form. I think it's just having people's eyes open to the fact that like sometimes it is uncomfortable if you're the only person in the room. Like, I was speaking to Arcs, who are a punk band, kind of like punk rock pop, and they have played a lot of gigs where they've been the only women on the lineup. And like they've said, like when they have got there, they've had like like funny looks, or like, I don't know, just like people not expecting anything from them. And then after they've played, like other bands will come up and be like, oh, I really wasn't expecting that, or like, oh, you can really play the drums, or like, and the same with Al from Sports Team, she said the same thing. And it's like, why should it have to be that you have to prove yourself in order to be expected to be good? Like, I obviously believe it always needs to be about the quality of the music. That should always come first. But there's plenty. There is so much quality. I mean, I think it's called the F list. Someone made a list of, all of the female like talent out there to help make it so easy for festival bookers to find and book talent. There's an abundance of talented musicians out there. No one's giving them a chance. No one's listening to the music, getting to know the music as they did with, I don't know, the Stone Roses or something, and sat and listened to every single song over and over and over again until they knew every single word. People just aren't giving it the chance. The industry is a patriarchal structure that is serving us continuously the same stuff. And all the while that we're just eating it up, nothing will change. You have to actively do your bit yourself as well to look outside of the box. And then you'll find so much good stuff. And it's so exciting because there's so much more than you expected.